Okay, flying start to this one because I obviously forgot to start recording until the round actually started. So we're on to the first at Safari 5th tee. This is one where anything too short is going to get punished. You're going to clip the tree and land in the water. So for that reason, unless you get a favourable wind, which I don't have here, you're going to be going over the back of the green with a chance of an eagle chip, but certainly should get a comfortable birdie. If you clip the trees, you're going to be very, very lucky to get away with a par. So you'll see, if we look at the flight of that, I could have hit that a little bit softer, quite a bit softer actually. But I've erred on the side of caution, gone over the back. I left myself with a 14-yard chip. Now chipping out of the rough, you'll notice I'm actually selecting a chip shot here rather than the default rough shot, which it gives you. A rough shot's good for longer ones. When you've got short shots like this, it's very difficult to control. So for that reason, if you go for a chip shot but hit it harder than you normally would, once you get used to how hard you've got to hit it, it gives you much more chance of getting it close. On this occasion, I don't think I did, but it's a lot. You're going to have a lot more luck and a lot more chance of getting it in the hole playing a chip shot rather than a rough shot. So you've noticed I've lined it up at 16 yards, but I'm going to add another kind of 10 yards onto that. That's probably a bit too much. I probably should have gone about 25 there, and for that reason, I think you'll see I missed this shot. So you'll notice when I actually hit it, it's going to miss to the left, so you might think, oh, I should have lined it up a bit more to the right. Possibly, but if you look at the way the ball breaks in, if I'd hit that a little bit softer, that break would have taken in time for it to go in the hole. So sometimes you think, oh, I haven't lined that up right, but in actual fact, you have lined it up right. Think about the pace you've hit it, worth bearing in mind. Anyway, it should be a birdie and on to the next hole. This course, Safari, is a bit of a killer, or it can be a bit of a killer if you haven't got your accuracy spot on. A perfect round would be 16 under, which I've never managed. I think I've managed 15 under a few times. 13 or 40 I'm always quite pleased with. You'll see what score I end up with at the end of this. Competition I've got didn't really make me think I had to do a huge amount of practice. I think the best round I had to beat was 9 under. So for that reason I haven't spent a lot of time on the practice course, which, if I was playing this in Master Pro A, nothing less than kind of 15 under would be likely to win the round, depending on who you get drawn with, of course. But anyway, so with this one, the key is getting on that small bit of fairway. You might not have the stats to do that, in which case this hole becomes an absolute nightmare. Indeed, if you miss this bit of fairway, it can become a nightmare because these trees you won't get over with a rough shot, and you'll end up in all sorts of trouble. There's water around the green, there's trees all over the place. This hole plays a bit, if you play a high shot, it plays a bit shorter than you'd think. So if I'd hit it, in fact, I played this a bit too short, I think, if I remember rightly. But it's very easy to land it, even if you land it anywhere on the front of that green, and for it to roll off the back. That's why I've underhit it there, essentially. You'll notice when I lined it up, if I'd hit it spot on the marker where I meant to, that would have been about perfect. But anyway, so it's left me with a chance of a chip in. I could put this, it depends on your own preference, to be honest, for this. I chip it and miss. May well have put a putt in, who knows. The reason I chipped was points, really. You get more points for playing a chip than you do for playing a putt. And if it comes down to points, that can be important. Unlikely to happen in this round. But I tend to just do that as a matter of course. If I've got a choice between chipping and putting from the edge, I would tend to favour a chip, unless a putt is much more likely to go in. Anyway, so this one I'm going to play a low shot at around about 95%. Again, I've made a mistake in the first 2 holes. I think you'll see me make a mistake here. Not such an error that I'd be kicking myself about, because it's really quite a tricky hole. Getting the distance right, you'll notice here, if that had been 1 or 2 yards harder, it would have gone over that bump there, and it would have rolled down the hill and left me with a 5-yard putt. As it stands, I've got an impossible putt, which I'm just hitting roughly where I think it might go, and I seem to remember it goes pretty close. No guide. There's absolutely no point using a guide for shots like that. There's no point at all. The guide will not give you any help. If you're talking about a 3-yard downhill putt with massive amounts of break, the guide is going to be no use to you at all, so bear that in mind. So started birdie, 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 and potentially could have been eagle, 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 so 3 shots dropped already. Again, though, when we look at the scoreboard afterwards, you'll see that it's not a big deal this week. Could be in future. You know, if I go to play the Master Pro 8 and put in a -12, I'll probably finish 10th in the round. You know, something like that. But anyway, so this one's just a draw around the big rock in front of us. From the first tee, you're down in front of that rock, so you don't get this problem. But the only way around it is to draw from this tee, which is what I'm doing. I've hit it a bit harder than I'd like, so it's going to be about a 10-yard putt, I think. Yeah, nearly 11, but holeable. Now I'm hoping that I think there might be one or two more mistakes, but it should be a better example of how to play from now on in. Not particularly proud of this round, but it is my best effort. So you know, I said I would show them all, and I am. That should be straight in for a birdie. So we'll move on now to another par 4, which is the 5th, I believe. You'll notice, I'm not sure if the next hole is a good example, but at Safari you can end up with some putts with some really big inclines. We saw one on the 3rd hole there, downhill. You'll also see some good examples of uphill putts where you can experience the dreaded rollover. If you play the game a lot, you'll probably have come across it before, where you line it up absolutely perfect, catch it on the line, and it rolls over the top of the hole. It's bang on line, but it doesn't go in. It bounces over the top and leaves it just hanging on the lip on the other side. It's really frustrating. We'll see a couple of examples, I think, later on of how to avoid that. That shot was very slightly too hard. I did catch the fringe, which took a bit of pace off it. That would have been a nice shot if the pin was at the back of the green. With it being at the front there, I would have wanted to catch the fairway just before the fringe there. Didn't quite manage it. But this is a holeable putt all the same. Now this is kind of an example of an uphill putt where it could well roll over. So it's 2 feet above me. You'll notice when I line it up, so I'm getting my line there. I'm actually going to line it up. You see, I moved that couple of notches to the right, so I took a bit more break than you might think I should have done. And if you notice, I hit it just slightly below the line. So those two equated means it'll finish in pretty much the same place, but it's going slightly slower. So it takes out the chance of that rolling over the top of the hole. It's Safari, there's a few of them. Rolling hills, the 8th hole's the very worst one you'll ever come across for that. You have to hit it so much softer than the guide suggests to have any chance of it actually dropping if you're putting uphill. Again, if you've not played it before, you'll recognise that when you come to it. For this one, I'm basically going to blaze it through the trees with a 2-wood. I'm going to leave it in the rough here. Now, when you look here, you wouldn't think it would be possible to get it through the trees, but I know from practice and experience, if I play a 2-wood, anywhere here or to the left it'll go through, anywhere to the right and it would have hit a branch and dropped in the rough. Also, you'll notice here it's very close to going in the water, but again I was confident it wouldn't do. Looking at it now, I'm not sure why, but I played that a few times. I've never gone in the water with a 2-wood. I did get a few stats recently from a combination, I think, and that's probably resulted in my shots being 1 yard further than they used to be. So that's maybe something I need to think about a bit more now. Anyway, again, out of the rough here, we're playing it much harder than you'd think. You'll notice it's going to bounce right at the front of the green. When you're playing out the rough, you can take off, depending on the club, anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 yards. You need to hit it harder than the marker suggests for it to end up where you want it to. Again, experience and practice will teach you that. So I've lined that up pretty well, so it's quite easy to adjust for that break. There's no kind of rollovers to worry about. It's not a steep incline, so as long as I hit that somewhere near the line, which I did, that's definitely going in. And we'll be on to the 7th, which is another killer hole. Really punishes you if you've not played it before, you're not quite sure where to hit it. You're going to be in big trouble, because as you'll see when this hole loads up, we've got a big tree in front of us. But there is a gap in the tree which you can make it through with a low shot, which is what I'm going to do now. From memory, I think I get this wrong, but there's very fine margin. It's worth talking about these fine margins. The more your stats increase, the more these come into play. Now, you'll notice, well, let's wait and see where I line this up. From memory, what I do here is I hit it very, very slightly too hard. It lands on the front of the green, and the difference between it hitting the green or hitting the fringe or the fairway is the difference between me having to putt or being off the green and chipping and scrambling to make a birdie. So you'll see here, that's what, 10 inches, and the difference in those 10 inches is me going 20-30 yards past where I wanted to. If I'd hit that 0.5% or even maybe 1/4% softer, then that would have finished 20 feet short of the pin, and I would have had an uphill putt, which would be holeable. This is, hit and hope. Very little chance of this going in. But my real thinking here is aim it right up the hill, let it roll down, and hope that it finishes somewhere near the pin. And as we can see, although it looks like it might stop there, it keeps on going. It's a big hill. It's going to stop around about 5 yards, 5.2 there. Very easy to end up 10-15 feet away, or 10-15 yards away. But as it stands, a fairly comfortable birdie putt. This is another one where a rollover would be possible. So you notice it should be, well, you'd see the break there. I'll take a bit more than that and then hit it a little bit softer than the line suggests. And the result of that is I'm taking away the chance of it rolling over. Sometimes you have to be more extreme than that and take a lot less, take a lot more power off it, hit it a lot less hard to guarantee that it's not going to roll over the hole. The guides are quirky like that, and you'll need to get used to them. Practice again. With this one, again, I know that around about 58-59% with a sand wedge is going to hit the front of the green and stop fairly close to where I want it to. Very tricky. Ideally, I'd want to hit the fringe here, which would take a lot more pace off it and would probably leave me with an uphill putt. As you'll see, it just misses the fringe and it leaps on a little bit, not too far away, and not so far away that it makes this an impossible putt. Another 4 or 5 yards, the incline would be such that you wouldn't get away with using a guide, and you're just trusting on your instinct, maybe even chip it just to get the points in the knowledge that you might put it in, but at least if you don't, you'll get some extra points. But as it stands, I managed to hold just within putting distance. So assuming I put this one in, it'll put me on 10 under. I know I put it in because I can remember now. I've got that advantage. So that puts me on 10 under with 1 to play. The last hole is what as many of them are here at Safari, you might call a crazy golf hole. There's a big rock with a hole in it in front of the green. So you've got a couple of options. You can sky shot it over the top, but you need to worry about that tree in front of us because the sky shot will hit it if you go too far over to the left. So that's not really an option. What I'm going to do is bounce it off the front of this donut or whatever you want to call it. And again, from practice and experience, I know that hitting it about there in this wind is going to, well, you'll see what happens. It's going to take the pace off it. It's going to sail through that gap. And it's going to end up with a putt on the green. Didn't help that I didn't catch my perfect shot there, which was quite difficult to miss, but I managed it. So there we go. So that's a fairly comfortable eagle putt, which will put me on 12 under for the round. By no means the best I could do, 4 shots short of a perfect round. But this week in the tour with the competition I've got, it's plenty. I would like to think, again, with a bit more practice, I could make minus 13, minus 14, 15 under or better. It just requires a bit of luck and a bit more dedication than I've shown recently, I suppose. But an eagle there anyway, so 12 under. I'm not sure if I recorded the scoreboard after this, but I was first in the first 2 rounds, and this puts me first in the last round as well. So coming up soon, we'll have the last one, which is Sands. I've already actually recorded it, so I can tell you I did a bit better in that round. So for me, it's going to be a bit more fun doing my voiceover to that one. So I'll see you soon for that, and thanks for watching.